From the News Channel 5 network, this is Inside Politics.
Hello, everyone. I'm News Channel 5's political analyst Pat Nolan. Welcome to Inside Politics. This week, American politics remains in gridlock. The impasse includes the traditional presidential transition in Washington being still on hold following the November elections. The impasse also involves a pandemic that this week reached new levels of misery, with over 250,000 Americans dead and 11.5 million of our citizens infected by the COVID-19 virus. There's also a record number of hospitalizations across the country, while the economy is showing signs of going into a double-dip recession. Congress did go back into session this week, but the Senate adjourned for Thanksgiving on Wednesday night, so no action on any kind of additional virus relief is coming anytime soon. Our only rays of hope: reports of 2 potential vaccines that promise 95% effectiveness in stopping the virus, even though neither treatment will be widely available until at least the spring of next year, after we'll go through a long and probably difficult winter. Joining us today on Inside Politics, and from Washington to discuss these matters, is Nashville Congressman Jim Cooper. Congressman, thank you for joining us on the program.
Thank you, Pat. Always great to be with you. And I'm speaking to you not from my office in Washington, D.C., but from the office of the people of the 5th District of Tennessee.
Oh, okay. You're back in town. You've been in Congress for many years. You've seen many changes in administration. You've also seen several serious challenges facing the nation while you've been in office. Have you ever seen anything quite like this combination?
You know, Pat, I never have. These are some of the strangest and some of the ugliest times I've ever seen. Who would have ever thought we'd have a pandemic like this, the worst since 1919, over 100 years ago, and then a president who seems unable to accept the results of the election.
What's the mood in Washington? Are you uncertain? Are people concerned about the virus? After all, Congress did do this week what the CDC says none of us should do, especially during the holidays, that is travel from all over the country and congregate in large groups.
Well, we have new virus testing here on the Hill, so it's a one-day result, and you can just walk through. It's almost like an assembly line because virtually everybody's getting tested. I got tested yesterday, and fortunately the result is negative. And actually, people are surprisingly optimistic on the election front, because even the hardest core Republican knows that Trump lost the election. And when they say something different on TV cameras, they're just spouting off for the audiences back home who don't want to believe it.
So
but the political question.
So Republicans in Washington are telling you something privately differently than what they're saying in public?
Absolutely. They're talking a whole lot more like Senator Mitt Romney or Senator Ben Sasse, folks who acknowledge the truth of the result. And, you know, the Tennessee Republican leaders, Bill Frist, Bill Haslam, folks like that, Zach Wamp, they are talking the truth. So it's only the currently electeds who are a little bit afraid of talking to their folks back home and telling them the truth.
We're beginning to see Lamar Alexander, the outgoing senator here in Tennessee, say that he's not ready to call Joe Biden the president-elect, but he does feel like perhaps at least he ought to begin to get the daily briefings. Are you seeing a crack in the wall? How long is this sore loser act being led by the president going to last? Do you think it's about to fall apart?
Well, there are many cracks in the wall because more and more Republicans like Lamar are tiptoeing toward the truth. Certainly, Biden should be treated with respect and given full information because we need a smooth transition because our nation's enemies are looking for cracks and looking for weaknesses in our country, and we can't show them any. Now, I think that you're going to see things improve. The Electoral College meets December 14th. Trump is essentially auditioning for a new reality TV role. He cannot stand being out of the limelight. So my guess is he'll either start his own network or get some show on TV. And that will give him at least some small measure of satisfaction.
But isn't it odd? He's not been out talking to the public or to the media at all. He's done no official duties to speak of at all in the 2 weeks since the election. Now we're hearing all this strange talk about the Venezuelan plot to somehow to do the election. He's bringing people in from Michigan to try to overturn the vote there. He's lost in Georgia. How many more gyrations has this merry-go-round got?
Well, the main thing for folks back home in Tennessee to realize is look how well Republicans did in the down ballot races. So if there were trouble with the election, why did so many Republicans do so well? It was only the president at the top who failed, and he can't accept that. It's a little bit like, in medical treatments, they talk about the 5 stages of grief. Like if you get a cancer diagnosis, your first reaction is denial. That can't be true. And then it's anger. You're upset at somebody, sometimes the doctor. A third, it's bargaining because you gradually begin to cope with the fact you might have to have chemo or radiation. Trump's going through those stages right now. Right now, he's still in the anger phase. He can't handle the result. And so much of the result is due to his own indiscipline. He tweeted too much. He talked too much. He said too much crazy stuff. And now he's just firing people like he used to do in his old TV show. So it's a crazy time.
Normally, in times of crisis, this country comes together and rallies together to get something done. Doesn't seem to be the case at this time. We're doing a lot. We have a lot of progress going on the vaccine, but we can't even agree about wearing a mask. What's happened, and how will President Biden make things any different?
Well, you can describe the glass as half empty or half full. I'm more optimistic on the mask situation because not only has Davidson County had a mask order, but now all the ring counties around Davidson County, with one exception, have a mask order. So that's Williamson, that's Rutherford, that's Wilson, that's Sumner, that's Robertson. And that's pretty awesome unanimity because those ring counties are pretty Republican, and they're realizing that they don't want their people to die. They don't want their people to get sick. And the best way, the cheapest way to have a precaution against that is to wear a mask.
But back in Washington, it's pretty clear, and the Federal Reserve say it, lots of economists say it, we need more virus relief to come out to help people who've been hurting because of the economic collapse that occurred because of the pandemic. Congress did pass quite a few bills back in the spring, but they've been in gridlock about passing anything else. Now it looks like they're not going to pass anything before Thanksgiving. Just to be blunt about it, how in the world, in the name of all that's holy, can members of Congress, including yourself, come home and celebrate the holidays and not pass any legislation before you go home?
Well, it's hard, Pat. You know, we in the House have passed two bills, as you mentioned, one way back in May, another one in September. But the Senate has sat on its hands. They haven't even been willing to negotiate. Now, I give the White House credit. They've been more willing to talk. Secretary of Treasury Mnuchin has been more willing. And I give them credit for that. But still, it's got to pass the Senate. And if Mitch McConnell, the Senate leader, is not willing to take it up, why then we're in trouble. The Senate sabotaged us just this week because they had a surprise adjournment. They just left town night before last and didn't tell us in advance. So there's nobody here in the Senate to even vote on anything. So the quickest we could get a relief package would be December. And that's a buzzer for a House vote going on right now. But it really should have passed way back in the summer. Now, Trump's appointed head of the Federal Reserve Board, Jerome Powell, has not only called for, he's demanded a major relief bill. But Secretary Mnuchin today turned him down flat. It's almost like they don't want any relief to go toward a Biden recovery. They just want everything for Trump.
Nashville Congressman Jim Cooper is our guest on Inside Politics. We're talking about the things going on in Washington, the pause that's currently going on for the presidential transaction, and what's going on to more relief for the virus. Back to continue our conversation with the Congressman after this break.